I was lying down on the bed. There was no light. I was trying to calculate how many years before I would finish secondary school and then get into university, and then trying to calculate that against when my younger sister would go into university. Because I knew I needed to be done with university and start working before she goes into university, because I just knew from that age that I would be the one responsible for her if she were to go to university. I had to drop out for a couple of months because there was no money for me to continue senior secondary school. I wrote some exams, and I just always knew that, okay, I needed to do well in that exam so I could get scholarship to continue schooling. And thanks to that scholarship, I was able to finish secondary school, and that scholarship sponsored me through to university in Nigeria. The lecturer I was close to was asking people okay, what do you want to do after uni? What are your plans? And he asked me, what's your plan for after uni? And my answer was, I just want to make money.
Welcome to Family Meeting, where Wahala meets small wisdom. Today we're going to talk about something really dear to all of us. We're going to talk about money matters. Now, this is the thing that causes households to shatter. If mommy and daddy are fighting, 99.9% of the time is about money. And to discuss this topic, we have a very special guest with us. Joy, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy. Thank you so much for having me, Torera.
Of course.
Okay, so I am the founder of Wealth from Scratch on Instagram, a community that I actually started because I wanted to document my own journey to having $1 million in 5 years' time. But now I share all the money moves, all the career moves, how I'm investing, what I'm investing in on my platform, on Instagram and TikTok. Beyond that, I'm a senior product manager working in fintech here in the UK, London. And I moved here about over 4 years ago now, actually, for my master's at the London School of Economics, which I was able to get into thanks to a fully funded scholarship.
Amazing. $1 million, though, guys. That's not small beans. And we'll get into her life story, but it's really inspiring for me as well.
Thank you.
Let's get into an icebreaker, actually. So what's one financial decision you made out of guilt, not sense?
So the thing is, I don't necessarily feel guilt when I do things, because before I do things, I always think I'm a thinker.
Okay.
So I always think through different things if I actually make decisions. So when I actually do things, I never really feel guilt. But if there's one decision that I think maybe at the time when I made it, if I had thought through everything, and if I had with the knowledge I have now, with how conscious I am with money, I might not have made that decision. Was actually sending my sister 4 years ago. She's in final year now, so about 4 years ago, deciding to send her to Convent University. Instead of because I'd paid for her to go to P-degree in Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria. For those not aware, OAU is the federal university in Nigeria, and it's more affordable to go there. That's why I went.
Right.
She'd done a P-degree. So a P-degree is an entry, what do you call it? An entry program to the university. And so she could have gone to that, but she was worried about the fact that she was older than I was when she was going into university, and federal universities just take longer.
Right.
So I decided for her to go to a private university, which is by far way more expensive. And at that time, I didn't necessarily I think I was just finishing my master's. So I didn't even have a job at the time.
Let's get into that, because she's funded her sister's tuition.
Yeah.
How did that, I guess, responsibility fall to you, and how have you been able to handle it?
So it didn't fall to me. I've always known I would be the one that would have to be responsible.
Known since when?
So I have this. I think it was you I was mentioning to have this very. I have this unique memory of when I was very young. I think I was in GS2. So GS2 is junior secondary school.
So around 12.
No, actually, I had a very fast education.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's true.
I was maybe 8 years old ish, 9 years old.
8 years old.
And I have this. Red distinct memory. I was lying down on the bed. There was no light, and I was trying to calculate how many years before I would finish secondary school and then get into university, and then trying to calculate that against when my younger sister would go into university, because I knew I needed to be done with university and start working before she goes into university, because I just knew from that age that I would be the one responsible for her if she were to go to university. So I don't know. It's just how we grew up. I just always knew that I had to be responsible.
Right. And did you ever, beyond that, feel, because that sounds like it was duty for you, you just felt like this was what I'm meant to do, and you just made the way based off of that. Yeah. But did you actually feel pressure at any point to contribute financially, when you didn't have the means to?
When I didn't have the means, I've always felt pressure to contribute. But it wasn't pressure. So maybe a bit of background. So we lost my dad when I was very young. So actually at that age, I think just so around that age was when I lost. When I lost my dad in 2008. Was when we lost my dad, and it's always just been myself, my mom, and my younger sister. So the way my mom was with us, it was never really a mom-child relationship. We're very close. So it just all felt like we were like three survivors on an island trying to make
Trying to make it work.
trying to make everything work. So like I always knew what the
Okay.
financial situation was. I always knew what my mom was doing for money. Like I always knew what was happening, who she was calling. I remember at that age I'll be the one calling relatives to ask for money.
Right.
Like, okay, this is our financial situation. My mom cannot call you. Can you please help us with this? So I've always been keyed into the financial situation at home. So it never felt like I just always knew, like that's how I was raised. I just always knew that I was going to contribute and help. So from that age, I was already helping. I would call relatives to get money. And when I was in junior secondary school, after junior YX, so that's the one you do before you go into senior secondary school, I had to drop out for a couple of months because there was no money for me to continue senior secondary school. And my mom, we got a scholarship. I wrote some exams, and I just always knew that, okay, I needed to do well in that exam so I could get scholarship to continue schooling. And thanks to that scholarship, I was able to finish secondary school, and that scholarship sponsored me through to university in Nigeria.
Okay. So let's just, for context, when did you start university?
I think that was 2015, so I was 14. That was
14.
the age I turned 15. My birthday is in December, so that was the age I turned 15.
And then you graduated
I graduated 18, 19.
18. So by 18, you were fully like in the workforce. You had your university degree.
Okay, so
Before
yeah, I was. But even before that, I was already working because I started working when I was in year 3 in university. So I was doing freelance content creation.
Right.
I was writing for
Right.
blogs. So I started working in 2017. So I was about 17.
Okay. And do you think sort of the way you grew up, essentially, where you were so keyed into the finances, did that help you in terms of thinking early on, like, I need to, because for a lot of people, they were sheltered almost from all of that. But did that let you clue in quickly and start thinking from an early age, how does 1 + 1 equals 10 to 100? Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, yes. I can't remember a time when I didn't think about money. I didn't think about how money works. Funny story, when I was in university, again, I studied English language in university. So, because it's such a generic course, it's one of those courses that you can do anything you want. Like, they'll tell you, oh, it's such a great course because you can do whatever after you're done with uni. And I remember in my final year, I was doing my dissertation at the time, my final year project, and a lecturer I was close to was asking, like, people, like, okay, what do you want to do after uni? What are your plans? And he asked me, oh, what's your plan for after uni? And my answer was, I just want to make money. And of course, he laughed. He was like, oh, I'm Igbo, because I'm from the Igbo ethnicity. And I'm like, oh, I'm Igbo. And I've never really thought, oh, I want to be this. I just knew I needed to make money. It's not a want. But wanting to make money, it's not a want, it's a need, because I needed to. There were people dependent on me.
Right. And do you think, because you've spoken a lot about black tax, right, and how it affects our community. Actually, do you want to expand on what that is and if that affected you as well personally?
So black tax is an invisible tax where you are a young person making money, but then you always have to send money back home. You always have to, even if you're either abroad or back home, you always have to contribute to the family finances. So either you're sending another person to school or you're helping with the feeding of the families on you. So that's black tax. And I don't know how the name came about, but I think it mainly affects black people, I think. And that's because I have white friends and colleagues, and they don't understand.
I have a theory on this, in that I feel back in the day, before like one person in community could go to university, the whole community had to come together to pay for their school fees.
So therefore, exactly,
once they got that job,
they needed to be responsible for everyone. It's very communal. Exactly.
And now it's feeding into a society where it doesn't even make sense, because now you can't even build your own personal wealth if there's constantly that black tax. You have to, yeah.
I'm very lucky in the sense that it's just, for a long time, it was just my mom and my younger sister. And I can be very laser focused. So like I'm only focused on those two. And my mom kind of shelters me from, like, I don't have to think about any other person besides those two, my mom and my younger sister. So, and again, like I said, it never came across to me as black tax. It was what I did out of love.
Yes.
But even with that, there's always boundaries. Like
there was no relative that was like, Joy, come and send me. Okay, you know what? That's a boundary. That's a boundary, because you didn't give your number out to everybody.
But yeah, I lost my mom last year, but before then they would reach out to, like, either they reach out to my mom, and if there was anything I could do, I would. But even with my nuclear family, even with my mom and my sister, there were also boundaries, in the sense that like again, like I knew, okay, my sister's going to university. Everything relating to her being in university was on me. But like my mom, for instance, she knew not to call me. Like there was a time she would call me like every other day. I'm like, there had to be boundaries. So I put down a salary where if she exceeds that salary for the month, she has to explain what happened, why did she exceed that salary. Like there were
So that's boss level. Bro. She's like, I put her on a salary. Okay.
I mean, there were things I knew I needed to be responsible for. Like I upgraded where we lived. I upgraded her housing. I furnished the apartment. There were things like that I knew I had to be responsible for, and I was really happy to do those. Again, I see money as, and I'm sure we'll get to that. I see money as a tool, and using money to change the lives of people I love. Like I enjoy doing that actually more than I enjoy spending money on myself.
Right.
So I enjoy doing those, but like I don't like being disturbed is another thing. So like that's why the salary had to come in, because when she's calling me every other time for money, I just couldn't deal with that.
Okay, could you actually expand on what you said about like using money as a tool? So that means that for you, money is not necessarily the end goal. That's what I'm hearing. It's a way to achieve the things that you want. So could you expand?
Yeah, like as much as I talk about money, I'm also not necessarily freaked out about money, in the sense that what do you actually use money to do? I think for me, what is important is freedom. Is being able to choose how I live my life. Is deciding to work if I want to work and not work if I don't want to work. So that's what, and it's being able to change the lives of people I love. So that's what money is a tool to that end. And honestly, that's it. Like when I talk about money, I'm talking more about financial freedom, which is what I really care about.
And that's something that I feel wasn't talked a lot about in African homes. Like we're not taught like money habits, financial habits, how to save. Why do you think that is the case? So like I have white friends who they have life insurance because their grandparents had life insurance. They have like they are saving up from 18. They're thinking, oh, my parents got this when they were 20 years old. They started having a house and they've learned all these tricks and stuff. Why don't we have the same things in our communities?
Very good question. I wish I knew the answer. But I think, I would speak from how I grew up. When you grew up on survival, where you're literally thinking about what do you eat the next day, will you be alive next week? Wealth building doesn't necessarily factor into that kind of a society where everyone is built on, making it through to the next day, finding, okay, what do I eat today? What do I eat tomorrow? You can't necessarily be thinking about next year at that point, I think. Okay. Might be why. And that's why on my platform, I try to talk a lot about, the money habits you can be doing, not just for yourself, actually, but I also talk about things like the junior ISA here in the UK that you can establish for your kids.
Right.
And whenever I make videos about this, I remember I would see people in the comments, our people, they'll be like, I just got it. Please, when the child come, they'll take care of themselves. And I always just laugh, like, we've brought that same mentality here as well. Like, oh, I need to enjoy myself. When the same way I struggled to make it, that my child should also figure out things themselves. And again, I think it's because when you grow up on survival, it's really hard to think about the future when you're just focused on today.
I do heavily agree on that because there are just so many things that stem from that survival mindset. But I also have another theory, which you might disagree with, which is that, like, I feel like our current financial systems are based on Western ways of living. And it's very individualistic. So you get life insurance because the community is not going to have your back when you pass it. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas in African communities, everything we're all doing this together. They even had banking systems where everybody would contribute a certain amount. And if somebody needed help, they would pull out from that sort of bank. And it was all community-based. But we just haven't developed those systems. So now we have to learn the Western financial systems to help ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so there are pros and cons to the communal way we did things. Again, the scholarship I mentioned I got through university, it was true. Like I'm a proper literal Lapo baby. It was true. It was true the Lapo loan scholarship, which was like a communal
shout out.
Shout out to Lapo. Yeah, it was true, like a communal. There was a community of women that would all get the loans, and my mom was nominated for me to write the exams to get the scholarship, and that's how I got the scholarship. So there are pros to the communal way we lived, but as an Igbo babe, someone who grew up with the Igbo ethnicity, like my granddad had lands that when they were sold never got to my mom. The proceeds never got to my mom.
That's true.
Again,
you can't
if
rely.
Exactly. Like if there were things like wills, the man might have said, okay, this allocation is to my mom, for example. But because you are relying on the goodwill of other people, That doesn't necessarily always work.
Right. Fair. Yeah. Do you ever feel guilty about spending money on yourself? Because obviously you have different people you're feeding into financially. Do you feel guilty when it's like, I need to splurge on myself? I'm not going to spend on you.
No. No, I don't.
Like, not even like an iota of...
No,
Okay.
I don't.
What's your most expensive like purchase that has...
And that's I don't really spend so much on myself in the first place. Like, I don't. I think people even laugh at me on Instagram. Like, you claim you're earning this money when the money is not showing.
You know, that's another thing. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because let's talk about weddings, soft life, you know, all this. I need to look like this. I think I heard someone on actually a podcast, Tours and Tuxedo, say that you should, like, Africans wear their wealth kind of thing.
I agree.
And why do we feel the need to go broke because we want to show out the next person?
Because when you think about it, when we grow up, like, the people we think about as being rich are the people we can literally see. Because, again, you can't see people's bank accounts. And when you grow up, the way we grew up is also quite, classist. So people are respected. People are treated based on the money you perceive that they have.
That's true.
So people then need to appear that they have money so they can be treated in that way. You get stories about people going to banks and then
the one that is
well dressed and smelling like, okay, every person is treated well. Meanwhile, you that you're on the queue for hours. So our society is one that we value those things. We value money. But again, people are not going around with their bank accounts or their stocks and shares tattooed on their face. So what you see is how they look. And so because of that, people spend so much money to look like they have money.
I don't know. I just feel like it seeps down even to like institutions where it's like they can... I know certain foundations that, it's a lot about the look and the appearance as opposed to the work that they're doing and also passing down for their generations. I'm like, why are we not thinking about legacy, about what our children will get?
It's honestly, I think it's a thing with our societies and even with the rich ones in our society. Like, you see, like, a lot of family-based businesses that there's no, what they call it, planning for how do you, succession planning, for example, like,
yes, exactly.
That's a thing. I don't know what the solution to this is. I will just keep preaching about it. Well, I think that's something that as a society we need to pay more attention to. Because, again, we hear so many stories of people from white colleagues that, their grandfather has done this and because of that they can live this life, or their great-great-great-grandfather did this, bought one stock in Apple at some point, and because of that they are all still living comfortably till today. And I don't know how many stories of that we have.
That's true. And do you think in our community, generosity, like giving money and showing all of that, it's equated to being a good person? Like, you're good if you give, that one man that gives everybody money and he's now hailed. Exactly, he's now hailed as being, but then that's also leading to financial like illness.
I don't necessarily think people think those generous people are good. They just they're able to, they're able to respect them at that point in time, and they're able to make those people feel like they're respected. I don't think it's real respect. So when you are like, I'm just thinking about the example you just gave, like, a chairman that comes down from the street and is giving everyone money.
It's transactional. It's just like in that moment.
Exactly. That moment you are like the best thing since sliced bread to happen to them. But once you leave, they don't really care about you.
Oh wow. That's harsh, show. That's harsh truth. So don't go broke trying to impress the next person, because
I always say this thing, like, you are going broke trying to impress people that are also broke. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I made a video recently, so because my page is about financial transparency, so I always talk about like my salary and how much I earn, and a lot of people left comments saying, and I think I was looking good in that video. I was wearing my best shirts. A lot of people left comments saying, you claim to be earning this amount and
look at what you're wearing.
You said I should get a better wig. I know I'm going to make my hair now, but I should get a better wig and things like that. And then I made a response video and I said, why should I, again, like I mentioned in that video, taxes already take half of my money anyway. So why should I then go broke trying to impress people that are also broke? Because people that have money are not making those kind of comments.
Exactly. Well, I guess it shows very much the mindset, right?
And the priorities. Like,
Mm,
again, I'm not saying I practice something called value-based spending, which is
explain that, please break that down.
if you find value in, like, wares and buying designers and things like
Right.
that, then spend on that, because that's what you. But that it means that maybe you don't value travel, for example, you don't value that thing, so you don't spend on those.
Okay.
I don't value wearing designers. I don't value looking a certain way. I value freedom. I value peace of mind. I value
Yeah.
deciding I don't want to work this entire year and being able to do that.
Right.
And being able to maintain the same lifestyle. That's what I value. So as a result, I put my money towards that. I value net worth, because when you have money, and not money that shows, but when you actually have money, there is different things you can do, again, to help the people that you love. There's options that are open to you. I think the society's like layers, where it's like an onion. There are layers that are closed off to you depending on how much you have. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was saying, growing up, there was this guy that bought, I think, a Toyota Corolla, and he was like the chairman of our society. Why? Because that was the best car we've ever seen.
Right.
He had a 1-bedroom apartment, and for someone like me that was living in a face me I slap you. A face me I slap you is like, I don't know if you know what it means. It's
I thought it was
house.
face me, I face you.
I don't know what
Which
they
one
call
is
it
face
these
me,
days.
I
It's like
slap
a house
you?
that different rooms.
Hey!
For someone like us, myself and my family that were living in that at that time, a 1-bedroom apartment was like a very big deal. So it's now I'm looking back at that, and it's nothing. So right now I think I know things, but there's so much more to life that I might never be able to know until I have
You reach
some
that
levels of
level,
wealth. And that's
yeah.
where I want to get to, because when I get to that level, I'm able to, make changes to society, able to impact the lives of people that I care about. And that's what I care about, not necessarily looking a certain way now. I don't have any. Again, it's a thing. Like I said, I earn a certain amount, and I think it's big money. But to me, I still think I'm broke. So like,
How exactly? So I'm really intrigued about your life story, because you were like, I was in a face me, I slap you. That was the first time I've heard that. I slap you.
there were so many fights, so I think the name tracks.
And now you're earning like 10K plus. How
Gross.
has that?
Please add that.
Gross. After tax.
Before tax.
Before tax,
Yes.
yes. How has that journey been for you through different sort of phases, different struggles in life? Like maybe coming certain places and feeling like an imposter. I don't know. Like, how's that been?
So a very big shout out to my mom. I think
Shout out, Mama.
I think I grew up with a mom where my confidence level has always been very high. Like I have so many stories, but I remember there was this time we went for, and my mom had a bit richer relatives, so relatives that were okay. So growing up, I could always see, at least from the sidelines, what was possible. So that was something that helped.
Okay.
And I remember we went on vacation one time to one of our siblings to spend some months there. And when they returned us back to Lagos, the feedback to my mom...
Returned us back.
The feedback to my mom was, your kids act like Margaret Thatcher's children.
Margaret Thatcher.
No, that was... I can never forget, because it was such a thing. And the thing was, as poor kids, we never acted like... We've always carried ourselves... We never carried ourselves like poor kids. So that was a thing people, never really understood. And so to your question, of course, there were like a lot of struggles. But again, my mom... She was, she did everything. Like, she did everything to ensure that we were okay. And again, when you grew up in that kind of love, there might not have been money, but it just always felt like an adventure, really. Like, okay, what are we going to eat this night? let's figure it out. So, and I also thank education a lot. I think education is a big part of why I'm here today. First, to all the people that sponsored me. So, like, being able to write exams and pass, and getting the LAPO scholarship that sponsored me through to senior secondary school and then university at OAU, and doing so well at OAU, and also getting the scholarship that brought me to the UK. So a big shout out to education. As I always say, education is a leveler. If you are a poor kid, education is something that can really take you from where you are. Doing well at education is something that can really take you from where you are to wherever you want to go to. My sister is a Nepo baby now. Like, she's going to Covenant University. She's she's living her best life. But again, like, I knew I had to do all of that to be able to escape that and ensure my sister had, a better experience.
Right.
And I also read a lot of books. So growing up, I read, and not self-help.
Books are amazing.
I read a lot of novels. I read a lot of storybooks. So I always lived, and I think that really helped me because I was able to escape my reality. So I always lived in, a fantasy land. And my mom encouraged that a lot. Like for my birthdays, she would go look for, even if she can't afford to get me a gift, she'll go look for a book for me. And so I always lived in fantasy land. I always saw what was possible. I might not have had money, but I knew what money could unlock because of the books I read. So all of that really helped me.
Oh, wow. So what I'm getting is that before you even get to where you want to be, having that mindset and being in that mindset is what will push you forward.
Yes,
like,
I think so.
Okay, so as we round up this first episode, because you've spoken a bit about financial freedom.
Okay.
What does that look like for you now in terms of emotionally, not just financially? What does that look like?
Honestly, I think this past month I have been experiencing financial freedom because I made, and not because my bank account, if anything, has become less. I made some decisions that mean that I wake up every day and I get to decide what I want to do with my time. If I want to do any, like I didn't stand up from bed till like noon today, for example. I mean, I was working till late, but fair. And I think that's what financial freedom really, it's peace of mind.
Right.
Like that anxiety that comes from not having money or having to do something to make money, when the anxiety is no longer there, I think that's financial freedom. And I saw an interesting tweet, I think this morning or last night, where someone said, "Oh, the more money that you have, actually, the more anxiety." And I don't think that tracks, because when you have money, again, you can be, the fact that your income increases doesn't mean that the money you actually have has increased. Because if your expenses increase to the level of your income, you're still broke.
Right? Yeah.
Because you are earning 1 million and your expenses are 900,000. You still don't have a lot of money. Financial freedom is when the assets that you have are able to work for you. So again, I talk a lot about investing in different things, investing in yourself, investing in stocks, investing in shares, investing in businesses that can generate income for you passively. So when you have money coming in that way passively, I think
you would have the freedom.
I would have freedom and I would have peace of mind.
Yeah, right. You know what? I think I agree 100%, especially sometimes when your income increases, especially in the corporate world, that means you're like you're responsible for so many more things. Your headache, you will not sleep. So
True,
there's a difference between that and asset.
And asset, exactly.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because your income in the corporate world, especially in the country that we are in, the more your income increases, the more you are taxed.
Hey.
Again, that's to the point where people say, on my side, I say I earn this gross and they're making, it's like I'm still with you. I'm still broke because half this money is getting taxed. The other half is having to go into pension. So that doesn't get taxed. So when you are you need to prioritize investing, you need to prioritize saving. So you can actually escape that rat race. Because the system is not it's designed to keep you in that rat race forever.
Right. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Joy, for this first session. In the second session, we're actually going to get into it about what are the things we need to do to actually get our money up and get our level up. So stay tuned and thank you.
Thank you. Bye.